Hello everyone, this is Melville Weston Fuller, the 8th Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States from 1888 to 1910. Fuller was born on February 11, 1833 in Augusta, Maine. His mom was Catherine Martin and his father was Frederick Augustus Fuller, a well-known lawyer. Fuller graduated from Bowdoin College. Then, he was admitted to the bar after 6 months of study at Harvard Law School, which allowed him to practice law. He was a newspaperman for a while, but then Fuller established a legal practice in Chicago. Then later he was elected as a Democrat to the Illinois Constitutional Convention of 1861 and to the State House of Representatives in 1862. Fuller became influential in the Democratic Party, and was a friend of Grover Cleveland. When Cleveland was elected president, he appointed Melville Fuller as Chief Justice in 1888. He wrote two important opinions, both in 1895. In the United States versus E.C. Knight Company, Fuller construed the Sherman Antitrust Act, and in the Pollock versus Farmers Loan and Trust Company, he declared the federal income tax law of 1894 unconstitutional. In addition, under Melville Fuller, the court established the separate but equal rule in Plessy versus Ferguson. Now, here are some facts about him. He was married twice, but both marriages ended due to the death of his wife. He had several children from both marriages, and actually wrote poetry but pursued law and politics to support his children. He was also the first Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court to serve with significant academic legal preparation. After serving 21 years as a Chief Justice, Melville Fuller died on July 4, 1910 in Maine due to a heart attack at the age of 77. Now, let's talk about our Supreme Court case, the New York Times versus United States, also known as the Pentagon Papers case, was a decision expanding freedom of press and limits on the government's power to interrupt that freedom. But I am tired of talking now. Bye.
The people involved in this case were the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Nixon administration. The New York Times versus the United States case was argued June 26, 1971, and was decided on June 30th, 1971. The New York Times versus United States case originated from the Supreme Court. In 1971, the New York Times published the first chapter of the Pentagon Papers. President Nixon used his authority to prevent the New York Times from publishing top-secret documents pertaining to the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War. The New York Times versus United States case went to court because President Nixon forced the New York Times to suspend the Pentagon Papers. The court question was freedom of press. In a 6-3 decision, the court ruled that the president's attempt to prevent the publication was a violation of the First Amendment protections for press freedom. The court ruled that the intent of the publication was not to put the U.S. in danger, but to educate Americans about the Vietnam War. Ruling made it possible for the New York Times and the Washington Post newspapers to publish the Pentagon Papers without the risk of government censorship or punishment. Historians now credit the Pentagon Papers for helping end the Vietnam War. The New York Times versus the United States case impact on American society was the freedom to publish classified documents.
Hello everyone, I'm back. Did you miss me? Anyways, that was our presentation. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.